Hey YouTube, it's Justin, aka Demonic Sweaters, here with another Alesis Nitro Mesh programming video. Now, recently I released the album Driving Songs, and I've been slowly releasing all of those songs on my channel over time before compiling it all together into a full-blown release. But in almost all of those videos, people would ask me what my settings were on the Alesis Nitro Mesh and what I did to get it to sound the way that it sounded. So, you know, quite honestly, I don't have all of those, parameters memorized, so I can never really respond to the comments. But what I figured I would do is just go through them all with you one at a time, and we can just check out the whole kit. It really wasn't that difficult. I basically just tweaked a few things, changed some, settings, and then created my own custom kit, which is saved in patch number 32. And that's what I pretty much use almost for everything now on this drum set. So first off, let me just go ahead and tell you guys, if you don't know, I actually switched my snare pad with my Tom 2 pad, and the reason why I did that is so I can have my ride cymbal right there on my rim of my Tom. So I still have a Tom, but then I also have a ride. Now, another question that I get a lot is people are always like, well, how did I make the cable reach? I didn't. Or I mean, I didn't move the cable, I just unplugged the cable that was plugged into the Tom and I plugged it directly into the snare. And then you have to reprogram the sounds, but we'll go over all of that as we go over this kit. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so hopefully you guys can see this all right. Getting a good camera angle on this thing is always very difficult for me, but I think that is okay. So let's go ahead and start off first with the bass drum. So the bass drum, to figure out what we're doing here, let's just tap voice, and then bass drum sample, I'm using number 16. So you can see that right there. Now, that sample, when you hear that on its own, it doesn't sound like fantastic or anything, but it actually just works really well in music. When everything is together and you're working on a mix, I really like the way this bass drum sits in a mix. I barely have to do anything to it. It just sounds good. When you just hear it on its own, it sounds okay, but it's nothing special. But that's the case a lot of times with certain sounds, just work good in music and other ones don't. So anyway, number 16, we tap voice again. Volume is set at 29. Panning is dead center. The pitch is set at 0. Reverb is set at 2. And then the MIDI, MID is the MIDI voice number, but we really don't have to change that here. And I never changed any of the other settings, so that's really it. Alright, so now let's just check out the snare. Snare number is number 73. Now this one took me a little while to find the one that I really liked. I tried a lot of different snares. I used to use the same exact setup with a different snare on it, but I ended up finding this one, and now I go with this one pretty much all the time. So it's number 73. And volume is set at 32. Panning is set dead center. Pitch is 0. Reverb is 2. And that's it. Okay, let's check out Tom number 1. Now this is number 145. Now sometimes I may change this. If I want a higher pitch one, I could go to... Oh wait, no, that is the highest pitch one. Never mind. So 145. And then all the toms, actually. 146, 148. I skipped one there to make it a little bit lower for the floor tom. Now these ones I have probably some pitch changes and some panning going on, so let's check those out. Volume is set at 27 on the first one. On all of them are set at 27. Panning for my first tom is -4. Second tom is +1. Third tom is +5. Pitch. Okay, so tom number 1, I have increased the pitch by 2 points. Tom number 2, I decreased by 2 points. And tom number 3 is set at 0 pitch. Reverb. Have a little more reverb on the toms, except for that one for some reason. That probably wasn't intentional, but it doesn't really make a difference. So 7 and 6. for all the reverbs. MIDI notes, again, don't matter. Okay, and that's all the drums already. Let's check out the hi-hat. So hi-hat, I'm using 258, and I believe these are all separate sounds, yeah. It's not one of the hi-hat groups. The hi-hat groups are basically all together, and you edit them all together, but you could do individual hi-hats too. So first, let's start off with the closed hi-hat, which is number 258. Volume is set at 16. You'll notice how much lower that volume is compared to the rest of the drums. And that's what I've said many times. The hi-hats out of the box are way, way too loud on this drum set. They sound much better if you make them lower. Panning I have set to -4. I always pan my drums from the drummer's perspective, like as if I were playing the drums myself. I would hear my hi-hat, obviously a little bit more on my left ear, and I just try to pan to where I would hear the drums naturally. That's kind of how I always do it. Okay, pitch is set to -4. Again, this is something with the hi-hats I think makes a big difference in how they sound. If you just pitch them down, they're going to sound a lot better than they do by default. And then reverb is set to 3. Okay, now let's go with the open hi-hat. So open hi-hat is 249, sample number. Volume is set at 19. Panning is -4 again, and pitch is -2. So pitch for this one is -4, pitch for open is -2. And the reason why I did that is because I wanted them to match in pitch. They didn't match on their own, so I had to tweak it a little bit. Okay, and what else? Reverb is set to 3. Okay, now let's do the halfway open sound, which is kind of hard to get sometimes. Where is it? 249 as well. So I have the halfway open sound and the open sound, both set to 249. Let's see what I did different on that one though. It sounds a little more muffled. It's just a little quieter in volume. So I have that one set to 17. Pan still -4, pitch -2. Reverb is 3. Okay, now the hi-hat pedal. Number 265 for the hi-hat pedal. Volume is set to 9. That's how low I had to go for the pedal, because it was just insanely loud. -4 again for the pitch, or for the pan rather. -3 for the pitch. Reverb is 3. MIDI note is 44, doesn't matter. Okay. Cymbals. Let's talk about cymbals now. My crash, first crash here to the left. It's number 226, and actually I think I need to raise that one in volume a little bit. Yeah, I've noticed it. I changed it at one point, so I'm gonna edit that now. Volume is set to 24. I'm gonna go up to 26. Yeah, that sounds better. So 26. Panning is -6. Pitch is -3. Reverb is 3. So again, that's number 226. And let's check the second crash, which is also 226, because it's kind of the best sounding crash on there. I just set it at a different pitch. This one is 25 volume. Panning is 3. Pitch is at 0. So second crash, pitch is 0. First crash is -3. And reverb is 3 on that one. I think the only crash I have different is my third crash here. I have a add-on crash. Let's get back to the beginning. Okay, yeah, this one's number 230. And volume is set to 32 on that one. Panning is 6. And then pitch is -1. And that's everything. Okay, so, oh, I totally forgot about the ride cymbal. Okay, let's do that one. So, ride cymbal, I'm using number 221. Volume is set to 23. Pan is set to 1. Pitch is 0. Reverb is 5. I'm not sure why I set that to 5, but it seems to be working. Okay, so that's all the individual drum sounds. Now, one thing you could do to really improve the responsiveness and how this kit sounds when you play it is adjusting the sensitivity of the hi-hats. Now again, you know, I've said before, the hi-hats are the weakest part and they're much too loud, but if you tweak them a bit. Now let's go to our utility button here. And notice I have my sensitivity set way down to 8. And what that does, that gives me more variances in how hard I'm hitting it. If I turn the sensitivity all the way up, you notice how everything's like really loud all the time. And that doesn't sound as realistic. So turn it down like to 8 or even 7 maybe. And that'll make it sound just much more realistic when you play it. Alright, then once you get everything set in there, all you have to do is save it. So let's just press the save key. Oh, and first we're going to save our pad. So to do that, once you're in the utility and you press save, it'll just save it by itself. Now let's go back to kit. And let's press save here and then save again. Actually, I think I made that crash a little too loud. So let's edit that. Let's try 25. Sounds good to me. Anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them down below. Don't forget to subscribe and click the bell icon so you get notified every time I upload new content. Anyway, see you guys really soon. Later.